Step into the kitchens of yesteryear, where the scent of cinnamon, sugar, and holiday magic filled the air. These forgotten Betty Crocker cookie recipes promise to transport you to a Christmas past, bringing warmth, nostalgia, and flavors that make every bite feel like a celebration. Sugar blossoms. Have you ever wondered what makes a cookie feel like a snowflake has landed on your tongue? Sugar blossoms were the jewel of 1970s Christmas kitchens. Delicate discs of buttery dough dusted with sparkling sugar, each one pressed gently with a colored candy in the center. They weren't just cookies, they were small celebrations of winter joy baked right into every household. Mothers and grandmothers would line up the dough on greased cookie sheets, each ball rolling between their palms, careful to keep them perfectly round. The oven's warmth transformed them, spreading just enough to form tender edges while keeping the centers soft and sweet. Kids pressed their little fingerprints into the candy toppings, claiming ownership before the first bite. Each cookie carried a story, a memory, a holiday tradition that no recipe card could fully capture. And just when the last sheet was pulled from the oven, the scent would drift through the halls, hinting at secrets yet to be discovered in the next recipe. What magical treat could follow to outshine even these sparkling blossoms? Chocolate Crinkles. Have you ever wondered why some cookies seem to hold a secret? Chocolate Crinkles were the mysterious stars of vintage Christmas kitchens, cloaked in powdered sugar that hid their rich, fudgy core. The dough, glossy and dark, was almost hypnotic, tempting even the most disciplined hands. As the cookies baked, tiny cracks appeared across their surfaces, like frost fracturing on a window pane, teasing the promise of molten chocolate inside. Each crack revealed a hint of the indulgence waiting beneath, a chewy center that melted slowly on the tongue while the edges stayed satisfyingly crisp. The aroma of cocoa and sugar wrapped around the kitchen, drawing families together, a quiet signal that something extraordinary was ready. These weren't just cookies, they were little mysteries waiting to be solved bite by bite. And as the last crumb disappeared, an unspoken question lingered. What other hidden delights from Betty Crocker's vintage vault might be hiding, ready to surprise the next curious baker who dares to dig deeper? Almond crescents. Once upon a kitchen, crescent-shaped wonders quietly stole the show. Almond crescents weren't just cookies. They were tiny crescents of magic that seemed to glow under twinkling Christmas lights. Soft, buttery dough cradled finely chopped almonds, each bite melting delicately on the tongue. Bakers rolled the dough into perfect moons, dusting them with powdered sugar so white it looked like freshly fallen snow. Children tiptoed around the counter, eyes wide, guessing which crescent would be the first to vanish. The subtle, nutty aroma mixed with vanilla filled every corner of the house, creating whispers of excitement and laughter. With every batch, the crescents seemed to grow more mysterious. Why did one always disappear before it even cooled? Families kept a playful tally, a secret contest of who could sneak the last bite. And just as the last cookie was carefully hidden in the tin, a quiet hum of curiosity lingered. What other enchanting treasures from the Betty Crocker book were waiting in the shadows, ready to charm the next holiday gathering? Gingerbread stars. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to catch a star? In the world of gingerbread stars, every cookie rolled out of the oven was a tiny constellation waiting to be discovered. Spiced with cinnamon, ginger, and a pinch of nutmeg, these cookies carried the warmth of 1,000 holiday tales. Bakers cut the dough with star-shaped cutters, each one slightly different, giving the illusion that no two stars were ever alike. Royal icing traced delicate constellations across the golden-brown surfaces, and sugar crystals sparkled like tiny nightlights. Families would leave them on the windowsill, hoping a bit of Christmas magic would escape into the winter night. Every bite revealed a soft, fragrant center with a subtle crunch from the edges, inviting whispers of secret recipes passed down through generations. Yet, hidden in each batch, some stars seemed to twinkle more than others, hinting at a secret ingredient only the cleverest bakers could guess. As the last star disappeared from the plate, a hush fell over the kitchen. A question lingered in the air. What other hidden wonders from the Betty Crocker book would reveal themselves next? Peppermint swirls. Have you ever danced with candy canes? Peppermint swirls were the cookies that made it possible. Twirling red and white ribbons of dough came together in a spiral, as if the sweetness itself had taken flight. The aroma of crushed peppermint filled kitchens, tickling noses and drawing children like magnets. Bakers pressed the swirls gently into cookie sheets, careful not to disturb the delicate patterns, then slid them into the oven where magic happened. Heat transformed the soft dough into crisp-edged, tender-centered treats that melted ever so slightly on the tongue, leaving a lingering hint of winter wonder. Families would nibble them by the fire, listening to the quiet crackle, imagining the peppermint winds of faraway North Pole landscapes. Yet among the cheerful spirals, some swirls held a mysterious twist of flavor, almost too perfect to be coincidence. One bite, and you could swear a secret whispered from the candy itself. As the last swirl vanished from the plate, a faint jingling echoed from the pantry. What other hidden delights could the Betty Crocker book still be hiding, waiting to be discovered? Walnut crescents. What secrets could a simple crescent hide? Walnut crescents were the unsung treasures of vintage holiday kitchens. Their delicate, buttery curves held finely chopped walnuts that added a quiet crunch, like a whisper in the night. Bakers rolled the dough with gentle hands, folding in the nuts just so, creating crescents that seemed almost too perfect to touch. As they baked, the kitchen filled with a nutty, sweet fragrance that hinted at warmth, tradition, and stories untold. Each cookie, dusted with a light snowfall of powdered sugar, looked innocent. Yet they carried the legacy of generations who had passed down this subtle, satisfying treat. Children and adults alike would sneak bites, savoring the tender crumb and the nutty heartbeat at the center, unaware that each crescent might hide a secret ingredient or a long-forgotten trick from the Betty Crocker pages. And then, as the last crescent vanished from the tin, a drawer creaked somewhere in the kitchen. What other forgotten treasures awaited those willing to dig deeper, hidden in plain sight among the festive clutter? Snowball delights. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to catch a snowball without getting wet? That's exactly the magic of Snowball Delights. These tiny, round confections looked like little winter flurries resting on your plate. Each one was made from a tender, buttery dough, lightly dusted with powdered sugar until it glimmered like freshly fallen snow. The secret was in the nutty undertone, usually finely chopped pecans or walnuts, that gave each bite a quiet crunch, breaking the soft, melt-in-your-mouth exterior. Kids would press their fingers into the soft dough before baking, leaving little impressions that magically disappeared in the oven, only to be replaced by the perfect, snow-dusted sphere. As you bit into one, the sweet powder melted instantly, sending a delicate whisper of sugar across your tongue. They were more than cookies. They were winter captured in dessert form, a fleeting moment of joy you could hold in your hand. And yet, as the last snowball disappeared from the tin, a faint rustle from the pantry suggested that another secret, even sweeter than these snow-dusted spheres, was waiting to be discovered. Cherry drop cookies. What secrets hide inside a simple cookie? Cherry drop cookies seemed ordinary at first glance, small, round, and lightly cracked on top, but a closer look revealed tiny crimson jewels nestled within each golden mound. These sweet bursts of tart cherry flavor were like whispers of a hidden story, waiting to be uncovered with every bite. The dough itself was buttery, with just enough sugar to balance the cherry's tang, and a hint of almond extract added an unexpected depth that made you pause mid-chew, questioning what other flavors you might have missed. Dropped by spoonfuls onto a baking sheet, they spread just enough to cradle the cherries like tiny treasure chests. As they baked, the kitchen filled with a mysterious aroma, warm, inviting, and slightly mischievous, drawing the curious closer. The first bite was an adventure, the cherries popping unexpectedly, reminding you that even the simplest recipes could conceal surprises. And just when you thought you'd uncovered all the secrets of these little delights, a faint clatter from the cookie tin hinted that the next batch might be hiding something even more extraordinary. Molasses cutouts. Have you ever watched a cookie dance in the oven? Molasses cutouts seem to do just that, shifting slightly as the rich, dark dough transformed into warm, aromatic shapes. Rolled thin and cut into stars, bells, and hearts, these cookies carried the essence of old-fashioned holiday magic in every fold of their spiced edges. The deep flavor of molasses mingled with a hint of ginger, cinnamon, and cloves, filling the kitchen with a cozy, nostalgic aroma that made even the youngest helpers pause in awe. Pressed gently onto a baking sheet, they retained every curve and point, a testament to careful hands and patient hearts. Sprinkles of sugar added a sparkling touch, like frost on a winter morning, catching the light as they baked. But the real delight was in the middle bite, soft yet chewy, slightly caramelized, a perfect balance of sweet and spice that made each cookie unforgettable. As the last one cooled on the rack, a mysterious shadow passed by the window, hinting that the next recipe might hold a surprise even sweeter than these cutouts.
Coconut snowflakes.
What secrets hide in a snowflake? Coconut snowflakes seem simple at first glance, delicate, crisp, and shimmering with powdered sugar. But one bite revealed layers of intrigue. The shredded coconut, lightly toasted, gave each cookie a whisper of warmth, while the buttery base melted just enough to release a hidden sweetness. As you pressed them into tiny, intricate snowflake shapes, the kitchen filled with a scent that felt almost magical, like a winter forest after the first snowfall. No two were exactly alike, each curl of coconut forming a pattern only nature could inspire. And yet, there was a subtle twist. Sometimes a tiny shard of white chocolate would appear, hidden in the center, a secret reward for the curious baker. As the tray came out of the oven, glistening with sugar, the question lingered. Who would discover the hidden treasures first? And just as the first bite was taken, a soft rustling came from the pantry. What other surprises could the next cookie hold, waiting quietly in the shadows of the holiday kitchen? Cinnamon pinwheels. Have you ever wondered why a simple swirl can make your heart spin? Cinnamon pinwheels were the joyful rebels of Betty Crocker's vintage cookie book. Tiny spirals of buttery dough rolled with cinnamon and sugar, promising a burst of happiness in every bite. As you rolled the dough into tight cylinders and sliced them into perfect rounds, the sweet cinnamon scent teased the senses, curling through the kitchen like a mischievous sprite. Want to bring this magic into your own kitchen? Grab your rolling pin, dust off that vintage cookie sheet, and try baking these delightful pinwheels yourself. You'll see why generations fell in love with them. Each cookie baked into golden perfection, the sugar caramelizing at the edges to create a delicate crunch that gave way to soft, pillowy centers. But here's the playful secret. Some slices revealed hidden layers of surprise, tiny pockets where cinnamon crystals melted into molten sugar rivers. Kids would race to grab these lucky swirls, eyes wide with delight, guessing which cookie held the richest treasure. As the last tray came out of the oven, a stray swirl rolled under the counter, almost invisible. But was it just a cookie, or something more waiting to reveal itself with a bite? Butterscotch buttons. Have you ever noticed how a single button can hold so much magic? Butterscotch buttons were Betty Crocker's quiet charmers. Small discs of golden dough infused with the rich, buttery warmth of butterscotch chips, pressed neatly onto cookie sheets. Each button looked unassuming, yet as they baked, the sweet aroma filled the kitchen like a whispered secret. The edges caramelized just enough to create a delicate snap, while the centers stayed soft, almost melting under your fingers. There was a gentle alchemy in the oven. The butterscotch chips softened, blending into the dough to create pockets of creamy sweetness that made every bite irresistible. Children would sneak from the living room, drawn by the smell, their small hands plucking buttons off the tray before anyone noticed. And the best part? Sometimes, just sometimes, the buttons stuck together in pairs, as if sharing their sweetness like a hidden message. But as the last tray cooled on the counter, one lone button seemed to shimmer oddly in the lamplight. Was it just sugar? Or was something unexpected about to unfold? Oatmeal raisin twists. What makes a cookie twist your expectations? Oatmeal raisin twists were more than a sweet snack. They were a puzzle for the palate. Rolled with care, the dough wove together hearty oats, plump raisins, and a hint of cinnamon that teased the senses without announcing itself. Each twist told a story, a gentle crunch giving way to chewy warmth, raisins hiding like tiny treasures waiting to be discovered. But why did these twists vanish so quickly from the cookie jar? Perhaps it was the irresistible scent that wafted through the house, drawing everyone like a secret signal. Or maybe it was the unusual shape, long and spiraled, that begged to be broken into pieces and shared. As the oven timer dinged, the golden twists emerged, curling slightly at the ends, their surface dotted with soft raisins glistening like dew. Every bite held a whisper of mystery, a reminder that simple ingredients could conceal magic. Yet, as one twist slipped from the cooling rack, a faint, unusual aroma lingered, something that made you wonder if the next batch would reveal a hidden surprise.
Lemon drops.
Have you ever tasted sunshine captured in a cookie? Lemon drops sparkled with a brightness that made winter afternoons feel lighter. Their dough, soft yet sturdy, cradled zesty lemon peel and a whisper of vanilla, dusted gently with sugar that shimmered like morning frost. Each bite was a tiny burst of tart sweetness, a playful balance that danced on the tongue. The magic lay in their simplicity, the way the citrus aroma crept along the counter, hinting at flavors yet to arrive, and how the sugar crystals crackled under eager teeth. Children would sneak into the kitchen, drawn by the scent, only to discover these golden discs of delight cooling on racks, perfectly lined like little suns. But it wasn't just about taste. It was about anticipation. Every lemon drop seemed to hide a secret, a subtle twist of flavor that made you pause, wondering what the next one would reveal. And as the last cookie disappeared from the tray, a lingering tang hinted at an even brighter surprise waiting in the next recipe, ready to upend your holiday expectations. Fudge squares. Have you ever bitten into chocolate so dense it feels like velvet melting on your tongue? Fudge squares were the crown jewel of Betty Crocker's holiday collection, the kind of treat that made the entire kitchen smell like decadence. The squares were rich yet tender, a perfect balance of cocoa, sugar, and a whisper of butter, each piece cut into uniform perfection. Unlike ordinary brownies, these had a glossy surface that promised indulgence before the first taste even arrived. The center remained soft, almost creamy, inviting everyone to linger over a single bite. Children would hover, counting squares, daring one another to grab the biggest piece without being scolded. And yet the true trick was hidden in their simplicity, a subtle hint of vanilla that made each bite linger longer than expected, teasing the taste buds with something more than chocolate. As the last square vanished, the kitchen quieted, but an unspoken question remained. What other secret delights were waiting in the pages of this vintage cookbook, ready to transform a simple holiday gathering into a treasure hunt of flavor?
Peanut butter trees.
Do you remember the smell of peanut butter warming on a winter afternoon? Peanut butter trees captured that cozy essence, their triangular shapes evoking miniature Christmas forests on every plate. Each cookie started with a buttery peanut butter dough, soft yet sturdy enough to hold its pointed form. A sprinkle of sugar added just enough sparkle, mimicking freshly fallen snow. Children's fingers would inevitably leave tiny imprints, as if marking each tree with a secret signature. But the magic didn't end with the dough. A drizzle of chocolate over the peaks transformed them into tiny edible ornaments, glistening in the glow of holiday lights. As the plate emptied, laughter and sticky hands told the real story. These weren't just cookies, they were memories in edible form. And just as the last tree disappeared into a smiling mouth, a subtle thought lingered. What other treasures were tucked away in this vintage collection, waiting for someone curious enough to uncover their hidden magic? Spice rings. Have you ever wondered why some aromas instantly transport you to another time? Spice rings had that uncanny ability. The moment cinnamon, nutmeg, and a whisper of cloves met warm dough, the kitchen seemed to hum with secrets of holidays long past. These circular wonders weren't just cookies. They were symbols of tradition, each ring a tiny portal to laughter-filled gatherings. The dough, tender and golden, carried a subtle sweetness that never overpowered the spice, while a dusting of sugar shimmered like frost caught in morning light. Children would steal one when no one was looking, leaving behind a trail of crumbs that seemed almost deliberate, like hints in a forgotten treasure map. But the true intrigue lay in the baking itself. Timing, temperature, and the secret touch of the baker could make or break the spell. And as the oven timer dinged, a thought lingered in the air. What other secrets did this vintage cookbook hold, just waiting for the next curious hand to awaken them? Date-filled cookies. Have you ever bitten into a cookie and wondered what stories it held? Date-filled cookies were the answer to that question. Soft, buttery dough embraced a rich, caramel-like date filling that seemed to whisper tales of kitchens long ago. Each bite was a journey, sweet, warm, and slightly mysterious, as if the dates themselves carried the laughter and secrets of generations. Rolling the dough around the filling required care. Too tight, and the cookie would burst. Too loose, and the flavors would scatter. Some bakers swore that the spice of cinnamon or a hint of orange zest elevated the experience, turning an ordinary afternoon into something magical. Children would sneak them from the cooling rack, their sticky fingers evidence of irresistible temptation. The subtle richness of the dates left everyone craving just one more, though only the cleverest got seconds. And just as the last cookie disappeared from the plate, a question lingered in the air. What other hidden treasures in this vintage cookbook might rewrite the way we think about holiday treats? Pecan crescents. Close your eyes and imagine a winter morning, the smell of roasted pecans filling the air. That was the magic of pecan crescents. These delicate crescent-shaped cookies, dusted generously with powdered sugar, were more than just a treat. They were memories baked into golden perfection. The dough, tender and buttery, held chopped pecans that added a whisper of crunch, a soft contrast to the melt-in-your-mouth texture. Every twist of the crescent seemed deliberate, almost ritualistic, as if shaping them by hand carried a blessing for the season. Grandmothers often recalled sneaking a taste of the dough, while the oven worked its slow alchemy, turning simple ingredients into something unforgettable. Once baked, the powdered sugar dusted the kitchen like the first snowfall, a signal that the holidays had officially arrived. But just when the last crescent disappeared into eager hands, a faint question remained. What other forgotten wonders from Betty Crocker's vintage book might still surprise us this Christmas? Vanilla stars. Have you ever wondered why some cookies feel like little sparks of joy? Vanilla stars are exactly that, a twinkle on your holiday plate. Crisp edges give way to a tender center, infused with fragrant vanilla that smells like warmth itself. These star-shaped delights weren't just baked for taste, they were baked for wonder. Children would press cookie cutters into the dough, imagining constellations forming on the countertop. The dough itself was simple, yet each bite released a burst of sweetness that seemed to shimmer in the mouth. Sprinkles or a dusting of sugar added a playful crunch, like tiny snowflakes landing gently on top. Families shared stories while waiting for the oven timer, laughter echoing in kitchens where these stars were born. And just as you thought the plate was empty, a lingering question teased the senses. What other hidden gems from Betty Crocker's vintage cookbook might appear next, waiting to light up our holiday imagination in ways we never expected? Maraschino cherry hearts. Why do some cookies make you pause, just for a moment, before taking a bite? Maraschino cherry hearts are one of those enigmatic treats. At first glance, they seem simple, soft, heart-shaped cookies with a glossy cherry perched on top. But the story unfolds as soon as you taste them. Sweet, buttery dough cradles the bright cherry like a secret waiting to be discovered. Each bite is a dance between the gentle crumb of the cookie and the unexpected pop of juicy cherry, leaving a hint of curiosity lingering on your tongue. Families would hide these little treasures in tins, daring each other to find them first, savoring the thrill of the hunt almost as much as the flavor itself. Baking them was part ritual, part quiet magic. Rolling the dough, pressing the cherry just so, watching the oven transform ordinary ingredients into something that felt alive. And as the cookies cooled on the rack, one question remained hanging in the air. What other hidden flavors from Betty Crocker's forgotten pages might be waiting, ready to surprise us in the very next chapter? Maple cookies. Have you ever wondered what winter smells like? Maple cookies capture it perfectly. The moment the sweet, syrupy aroma drifts from the oven, it wraps the kitchen in warmth, like a gentle hug on a frosty morning. Each cookie is tender and golden, with the unmistakable richness of real maple syrup swirling through every bite. Unlike ordinary treats, these cookies have a quiet depth, a comforting balance of sweet and earthy that lingers, teasing the senses. Rolling the dough and cutting it into perfect rounds feels almost like an art, each one a tiny sunburst of flavor waiting to shine. As you press them lightly into the pan, the subtle stickiness promises indulgence without overwhelming. Families of the past cherished these cookies, tucking them into tins that would vanish mysteriously by the next morning. And just as the last crumb disappears from the plate, a whisper of curiosity remains. What other forgotten treasures from Betty Crocker's vintage collection could awaken our taste buds next? Raspberry thumbprints. What mischief can a tiny cookie create? Raspberry thumbprints know the answer. Each little round of buttery dough hides a mischievous surprise, a dollop of bright red jam tucked neatly in the center, waiting to explode with flavor. Pressing your thumb into the soft dough isn't just part of the recipe, it's a secret handshake with the past, a small act that turns baking into playful magic. If you're getting hungry already, save this recipe now. You'll want it for your next holiday batch. The sweetness of raspberries dances with the gentle richness of the cookie, creating tiny flavor fireworks in every bite. Kids and adults alike couldn't resist sneaking one or two before the rest even made it to the plate. The jam glistens like candy rubies, tempting the eye as much as it satisfies the palate. And as the cookie tin empties faster than anyone can admit, there's a hint of mystery left behind. What other hidden surprises lie in those forgotten pages of Betty Crocker's vintage cookbook, waiting for daring hands to uncover them next? Holiday wreaths. Have you ever wondered why some cookies feel like tiny celebrations in your hands? Holiday wreaths are exactly that. Rings of joy twisted with sprinkles, sugar, and a hint of almond, shaped to mirror the festive garlands that adorn front doors. Each bite is a perfect balance of crisp edges and soft, buttery centers, a subtle crunch giving way to a melt-in-your-mouth sweetness. Crafting them is a ritual in itself, rolling, shaping, and adorning each wreath as if you were weaving a tiny holiday story. As the aroma fills the kitchen, memories of laughter, carols, and sparkling lights seem to swirl around you, binding the past with the present. But there's something more hidden in these recipes, a secret charm tucked in the folds of powdered sugar and tiny sprinkles. As the final wreaths cool on the rack, you can't help but wonder, what other festive delights lie waiting, quietly tucked away in the pages of this vintage cookbook? Daring you to find them? Chocolate-dipped shortbreads, the perfect final bite. Some desserts don't shout for attention. They whisper their way into your memory. Chocolate-dipped shortbreads were exactly that kind of quiet holiday magic, made from nothing more than butter, sugar, flour, and a touch of vanilla. The dough felt almost too simple to become anything memorable. But once shaped and baked, these pale golden cookies emerged soft, crumbly, and fragrant, ready to melt at the first bite. The transformation came with the dip. Each cooled shortbread was lowered halfway, never fully, into a bowl of warm, silky chocolate. Families had their loyalties: dark chocolate for a richer finish, milk chocolate for nostalgic sweetness, or white chocolate for a snowy winter effect. The cookies were then laid on wax paper to set, forming that perfect contrast between buttery crumble and smooth chocolate snap. Some bakers sprinkled on crushed peppermint or chopped nuts, while others kept the edges plain, knowing the beauty lay in the simplicity. Packed in tins or wrapped with ribbons, these cookies often became parting gifts for guests. Chocolate-dipped shortbreads were always the final gentle note of the season. Simple, elegant, unforgettable. As the last crumbs of these vintage treats disappear, one thing becomes clear. The magic of Christmas isn't just in the decorations or the songs. It's in the joy of baking, sharing, and discovering forgotten flavors that bring generations together. These cookies, each with their own story, are more than recipes. They're a doorway to nostalgia, creativity, and festive delight. Don't let these cherished classics fade away. Try baking them yourself, share them with loved ones, and keep the tradition alive. And if you loved this journey through Betty Crocker's forgotten Christmas cookie treasures, make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell, because there are even more culinary secrets waiting to be uncovered in our next festive adventure.